This is FM Gold channel of All India Radio. R K Laxman, the cartoonist and creator of the series on common men, was among the pioneer of Indian cartoonists. He created the daily comic strip You Said It, which chronicled Indian life and politics through the eyes of the common man. Born in 1921 at Mysore, Lakshman left us in the year 2015, but his creations are as contemporary and pop up every now and then in day-to-day situations of today. We now bring you an interview with the genius himself, recorded just a few years before his demise.
We are very glad to have you here in our studios, Mr. Lakshman. Would like you to share with our listeners some of your experiences in the art and science, if there is any, of cartoon making. I'll put rather a stale question. How did you take to cartoon making?
I did not take to it. I would put it, cartooning took me. You see, ever since I can remember, way back, I've been drawing. I was very fond of drawing even as a child. Then I continued my studies side by side throughout up to my BA. Took my Bachelor of Arts degrees in Philosophy, Economics, Politics.
I see.
Then I got into a state of mind where all my expressions were in terms of pictures. So I painted, sketched all my time. At that time, India was going through the pangs of independence. Cripps mission came and Pakistan was created and all sorts of interesting things were happening. So I penned a few cartoons and sent them off to newspapers and magazines. To my surprise, they were accepted. That didn't surprise me as much as it would have if my cartoons had not been already accepted at the age of 13 by some local magazines and newspapers when I used to draw jokes and send them off, and I used to make some small pocket money for myself. But the ones that were accepted were political for the first time. I should be a cartoonist and settle down to it.
Now, what type of news do you take for your cartoon making, or what sort of news items inspire you to make a cartoon?
That is very difficult to answer because when I read, I don't or think on a subject. I do not set about with any idea of choosing an economic subject or a political subject or a social subject. Whatever appeals to me. Maybe it is budget and the economics of the country is more important, it's more intriguing and more challenging, and I have taken that. Maybe it is some political events in your country, by-elections, midterm elections, united fronts, and crossing the floors.
Yes.
These perhaps are challenging and interesting in their term, but I take that up as my subject. If nothing at all, perhaps there is a civic subject like digging up the roads, and, promising water supply, and all that sort of thing. So I take that up. So I don't go about choosing today I'm going to do on economics, tomorrow on politics, day after tomorrow on society and social problems. It's a process which is so vague. I'm afraid I cannot capture it clearly in words.
I presume that those news items which are most topical or which are probably agitating the public mind or which concern the public opinion in the country. Probably natural. I mean, they would, because since you are also a regular reader of newspapers, so they are
naturally falls into their own preoccupation at the moment. If it is, as I put it broadly, if it is budget and taxation, naturally I do on taxation and budget. Naturally, it is in the public mind, and I have also done the cartoon. Therefore, everybody says, "Ah, he is a wonderful cartooner." Taxation and burden, and so on and so forth. Five-year plan, for instance, when the draft is submitted for the fourth five-year plan repeatedly by the Planning Commission, every time it agitates the mind of the people because there are no resources for the hugeness of the plan, and that becomes a matter of interest and talk. I don't know that then.
Mr. Lakshman, very often we find cartoonists painting, drawing and sketching political figures or literary figures, as also, say, eminent and distinguished personalities from different walks of life. Well, it is not necessary that you will have met all such people before you drew their pictures. Well, what do you want to project so that the lay reader may immediately and without difficulty spot out or locate the person drawn?
You mean the caricature, how it becomes recognizable?
Quite, exactly.
On this, I've spent a lot of my time. I myself do not know what makes a caricature look like the person it's drawn from.
Yes.
I'll tell you a small incident way back when I was first employed. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a subject every cartoonist had to draw. But he was the one character whom I was unable to capture and satisfactorily, I mean,
Yes.
to me in a cartoon. He always appeared very stiff, very immobile. Govind Vallabh Pant on one side and Vallabhbhai Patel on the other, and all the other cabinet ministers were alive, living, talking, smiling. But Pandit Nehru, I could never make him come up. One day it happened, I drew Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru without his Gandhi cap. I just started drawing him without the cap. I never drew after that. 20 years I did not put the cap on Mr. Nehru. I drew him from with showing his bald pate. And he came to life immediately. In fact, when I met him some years ago before his death, I told him. And he said yes, he had read an article about it, which I had written in one of the books. Curious, why should it happen? Why? That a cap stifled his entire personality and removing it immediately gave the caricaturist all that he wanted.
Right.
So I cannot say. I could say Rajagopalachary's dark glasses, Stalin's mustache, Hitler's sidelock, Churchill's cigar, and Roosevelt's cigarette.
President de Gaulle, his long projecting nose. Yes.
These were, of course, years ago, were symbols which helped the caricaturist. And he could immediately, even if the character was badly drawn, immediately recognize as de Gaulle or Stalin or Hitler or Khrushchev or anybody who you think. But these days, the politicians have been standardized. They don't have any eccentricities to help the cartoonist and the caricaturist. And the task is becoming very difficult indeed.
Rather difficult, yes. Then, Mr. Laxman, I'm tempted to put another question as to how developed is this art of cartoon making in our country, and how does it compare with the state of affairs in other countries?
Very highly developed in our country.
Yes.
This is a phenomenon which I am unable to account for, because I suppose it's because of the long period of the British influence. Newspapers and magazines have had something to do with that. But the entire Southeast Asia, India is the only country where there is cartooning and caricature in the developed form that it is existing in now.
I see.
And compares our talent, cartoonists, it compares very well with any Western country and the cartoonists. Because we have taken certain lessons from the British, one, that is not all, but the freedom expression that is allowed in our country, thanks to our democracy, is also a great deal responsible for it. Very intelligent cartoons have been drawn by our cartoonists to our papers, not only the English papers but also vernacular papers. It is very gratifying. But you won't find it in any of the Southeast Asian countries, not even Japan. When I went to Japan, I was surprised to find that cartooning hardly existed at all. Now they have some sort of cartooning which is purely American, but not intelligent enough, deep enough as ourselves.
I see. Well, is there any institute in our country where some coaching is given for up-and-coming cartoonists?
This is not where no coaching could be given.
I see.
You see, this art combines in itself not only the art of drawing, but a thing called art of caricature and exaggeration, which comes from within. And secondly, there's one other ingredient that goes to make the cartoonist. The intelligent idea of comprehending political situation. To understand the political situation, not only to understand it, read between the lines and get the essence of humor out of it. So sense of humor can never be taught in a school. It is born. Add to it general intelligence to understand the political events and the facility to draw quickly, quick enough to catch the press deadline. So no school of art perhaps
could
might try to teach how to draw a figure distorted, but that's never be a cartoonist ideal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Laxman. It has been a delightful chat, I must say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for giving me this opportunity. I am very grateful to you.
You just heard an interview with the legendary cartoonist R K Laxman. It was recorded a few years before the demise of the legend in 2015. This broadcast came to you from the FM Gold channel of All India Radio, Delhi.